Kia ora, welcome back again, everybody. Here for, finally, we've made it to the second part 2 of 2 in the documentary for the New Zealand SAS First Among Equals documentary. So, yeah, let's jump on in.
There was thawing, of course. You sort of kind of realise that I'm part of the family now, type thing. But I've still got a lot to prove. So you're taking the first big step. Everyone's very motivated. You motivate each other. It's just a really good atmosphere to be in. Guys are really clicky.
Maintain a high degree of readiness. They must maintain a high standard of training because certainly the climate that we live in now, you just never know if something's going to happen.
Although they are now part of the New Zealand SAS, the unit's 5 newest troopers are on a 2-year probation to prove they have the right stuff.
You're going to be the dog's body, You are going to sweep, you are going to volunteer for everything. So you're still pretty low down the food chain.
We had heard about that aspect of once you should you get badged and go into a squadron, that you are the broom boy, you are all the extra duties and jobs that people don't necessarily want to do. That's your role. Man, I didn't care. They could have had me scrubbing the toilets and brassoing all the taps or anything else, or the other fixtures, and I would have gladly done it once I was there, like within the unit. It was all the other stuff, which the rest of the army, well, in my view, I thought the rest of the army did. Wasn't a fan of doing drill, wasn't a fan of, marching around on a parade ground. None of that stuff was why I joined the Defence Force. And so, but if there were all the toilet cleaning jobs or duties that would need to happen, if they needed to happen once I was in, I understood that was still part of the process to earn your stripes, to earn your place within the team, within the unit, within the squadron, within the regiment. So, yeah, hearing them say that, hard case listening to Dale, you are going to sweep, you are going to wash the vehicles, you are going to be responsible for doing all the crap jobs that the senior operators don't want to do, and you will volunteer to go and do it. Or you'll be voluntold.
It's a period where they go through and flesh you out. You've only got the basic skills, and they need a lot of refining.
As they begin their second week in the squadron, the 5 are about to discover what being a Special Forces soldier means today. The battlefields of open desert and thick jungle are no longer the sole arena for SAS missions.
Over time, it's moved from strategic reconnaissance and hit-and-run raid activities to countering terrorism.
Would-be opponents of the West learned from Gulf War I that you have to fight asymmetrically. That is, you have to get underneath the conventional force umbrella of larger established states.
Conventional warfare has given way to guerrilla strikes, hostage situations, and acts of terror.
That is the nature of the forces that we're up against in the world today. Far more than any conventional threat to New Zealand, we face the threats of terrorist groups, of insurgency groups.
And that's where Special Forces come in. Special Forces fight the asymmetric warrior like an asymmetric warrior. They meet him where he lives. They take the battle to him in the same measure that he would take it to the West.
As NZSAS soldiers, they must learn to counter this threat with maximum efficiency. At this battle training facility, painstaking hours are spent acquiring these skills.
The BTF, good old BTF, Battle Training Facility. I recognise that place. That's where we spent many hours, many long days, and some of us into the nights when we needed to work on our shooting to make sure that we're hitting the targets and could validate. So there's been lots of comments around, you go through sometimes a whole infantry battalion's budget in terms of ammunition within, sort of a couple of days, maybe not quite a couple of days, but maybe about a week or so, if that. there's a heck of a lot of rounds and ammunition that you put down range to hone those skills, to refine those skills, to get better, because you're preparing for the times when lives will depend on it. So you need to be squared away and switched on and able to do it.
Wow, your weaponry, you can never be too good at it.
As unit troopers, the pressure is really on to up their game to SAS satisfaction.
Load action. We're going for the top left target. Stand by. Up. Unload. Clear weapons.
You can't have an error. You just got to be good at it.
I remember all those days, and use of iron sights was the standard. That is what we were doing, and use of iron sights through your gas mask was part of the drills and training and standard as well. And so sometimes, especially when you were learning to acquire the target, and you've got your big bulky gas mask, and then you've got your filter on, and you're trying to get your head in around the scope to see, to line up your sights, rear sight, foresight. It's a bit of work. And then on the MP5s, when you're dialing them down, when you depending on which aperture you want to use, the bigger one or the smaller one, to get it tighter and more accurate, the smaller you go on the aperture that you're looking through, the sort of harder it is to try to get the sights lined up. And so there's potentially a bit more delay. But thankfully, like I mentioned at the start, the amount of time that you spend there and the delivery of the training by the instructors is awesome. And you can't help but get better. Can't help but be a bit competitive too, to be fair, in that environment. You want to get the rounds downrange first, but you want to get them downrange accurately as well. You don't want to be last. You don't want to be taking too long. And, you want to try to one-up your mates wherever you can. At least I was trying to anyway. And I'm pretty confident, based on what I saw and some of the little challenges that we would have from time to time that the instructors would give us. Everybody is trying to do that, but in a good way, a good, healthy way. Yeah.
Good grouping. Tighten it up.
But things are about to get a whole lot tougher. Next, they must train with a gas mask and full body armour, and these high-tech battle fatigues come with their own set of handicaps.
It gives you sort of like tunnel vision, so you've got to move your head a lot more.
Drills that once seemed instinctive have to be relearned to cope with this radically different perspective.
You've been doing all these drills, all this training, without anything interfering. Suddenly just a little 1 millimetre, 2 millimetres is just putting you off balance.
Okay, first target.
Yeah, it's great again how they progressively overload with regards to the training and developing and building the individual skill up. Clean skin, basically, first up, with just the nice Oakley goggles. And then you start adding kits. And then as you're going, by the time you get to it, you'll be doing all these drills with the sledgehammer swinging off your back, with a shotgun. You've got all your kit on now, with explosives or demolitions for doors or walls, whatever it is that you might be doing in terms of breaching, or for your MOE, your method of entry. It's you want to be chucking all that. You don't want to be chucking all of that on first up and then trying to get used to that. So getting used to those drills, but then, like I said, relearning them once you're adding more layers of a kit, of equipment and kit on. You have to. And then once you get accustomed to that and get half decent at it, then that becomes your norm. You're fully kitted up, doing your drills the way that you would be going into a job or a task. And that's where everything just really tightens up and gets tightens up in a good way. Like, where the pressure points are with your kit. Where you want to have things sitting. The positions, your foot position from the ground up, and how you want to be. Your shoulders, having them aligned. Yeah, just everything. Things start to get tightened up and squared away and refined that much more. You look at your mates and you see how and where they put certain things, and you think, oh yeah, I'll try that. And you discover that's really good, or nah, I don't like that. I'll go back to putting it where I had it. It's an awesome process.
Top centre.
At first, everything seems impossible.
Sorry, I got to stop this here. Just seeing them step to the side, yeah, that was the way I was taught, the way we were taught on cycle in NZ as well. And I just memory comes to mind looking at this when I was in Australia and then going through the CQB there. That isn't what they do. That isn't what they taught. But I had done it that many times on cycle in NZ, even though, by then I've gone to the 4RER Commando, I've deployed to Timor with 4RER, I've come back, been training, done selection, I still had that wiring in my brain. And so I instinctively did that when we had a stoppage drill during the CQB and stepped to the side. And yeah, the instructors were cool though. They were good. They just come up and said, "Oh, hey, why'd you do that?" And I said, "Oh, I realized what I had done." I was like, "Sorry, staff. That's a habit." I tried to think of the words quickly and I ended up saying, "Sorry, that's a habit that I developed in NZ because that's what I was taught there, but I won't do it again." So I was trying to front foot potentially being told off, but the instructor was cool. He didn't tell me off. He just said, yeah, don't. He goes, "Okay, thanks for that," but he just said, "Yeah, no, don't step off to the side. Just stay where you are. Stoppage, lower it down, Joy. Real calm, real cool, very, very, just awesome." Like I remember his delivery and his counsel to me, like, yep, very calm and measured. Yeah, don't do that again. That's not what we do. So stoppage, lower it down, draw your pistol up, and then engage the target. So it's like, yep, and I didn't do that again. So I'm glad I didn't do that again. But that wiring was still there. But thankfully, I'd had enough experience by then, hence why I've mentioned multiple times before, I had a very big advantage, I felt anyway, going on the Australian selection and onto cycle. I had done a lot of this stuff before. I just hadn't done it the way that the Australian regiment wanted and expected me to apply it there. So when in Rome, I'm glad that I was able to pick that up and take that on and get rid of that instinctual behaviour that I had developed, which served me well in NZ at that time. But it wasn't the kaupapa, wasn't the way business was done in SASR at that time.
Tell me you got this little handicap, and it becomes a little frustrating to start off with.
Ensuring they can shoot with accuracy means spending day after day in the battle training facility.
I heard that. Wake up too slow. Yeah, had a few reminders of those and had a few comments like that towards me and towards our cycle when we're in the range and that as well. But even just watching that there, like, I've been out of the game for a while and I'm looking at that going, you need to hurry up. Like, that's taking way too long to drop that mag, get a new mag out, whack it in and then re-rack that thing and then get rounds downrange. But the standards are high and I probably would have been 10 times slower than that, so going through the learning, but that is part of the process. You'll figure things out or you'll end up being removed. So yeah, this is cool to see and relive again, re-experience.
You'll be on that range every day from morning till dusk, maybe into the night, just to get that one shot right.
Sorry I'm stopping this so much, but it's just need to reiterate what Dale's saying there. Like, it's 100% true. Like, we spent so much time on the range and there were some guys, so the instructors were obviously experienced, skilled, and they recognized and knew that there were people that needed a bit more time, especially when it come time to the qualification shooting that you needed to be able to meet and the requirements for those in terms of getting rounds on target at the set distances, just to have that basic level and to also be trusted within a team, especially when you're going through the kill house and you're using live rounds, etc. So yeah, there were some guys that needed extra time, and sometimes those of us that didn't need to do that, sometimes those of us would still go into the range anyway, just to be with some of the team members. This is on cycle to help them out, or just to get some extra rounds downrange ourselves. So yeah, it's you were living and breathing it every day, 24/7, it felt like. But it was awesome. It was awesome.
It's a vital skill that has saved the lives of NZSAS troopers in the past.
We heard these Vietnamese voices yapping. I said, Jesus, what's that? He said, Charlie.
A New Zealand SAS patrol would have one more deadly task to perform at the end of an 8-day reconnaissance of the jungles of Vietnam.
And then on the last day, we're probably starting to stink a bit that someone sort of got suspicious. One of the guys sort of come past and stopped out front. Heard a scrape, and because we'd only been there a short time, I didn't really know what it was. I thought it was a cigarette lighter, but later on, now that I know, that was actually the safety catch on his AK. Yeah, he was suspicious, but probably gutless, didn't want to ever go. Because if he had done anything, he was all over for him. My plan was to have 4 of us in the killer group. So we're lying there and we, well, a couple came, so. What I did was I just aimed my rifle, and when his chest hit the sight, so I just operated the trigger. And I think we're in a really high state of excitement at this stage of the game. And the body didn't look like a body, it just looked like a bundle of rags, actually. And I thought that he'd dropped his pack and scarf and that I'd missed the bugger. Oh man, I was shaking like Billy-O, I didn't feel frightened. It was just that that's how my body reacted, and I was really used to shake like buggery. Yeah.
Interesting, and well, at least for me, interesting to hear Vietnam vets' experience in contact or in ambush, whatever it was, the task was. It doesn't go into detail there, but when he mentions that he had 4 in the killer group, I'm assuming they had a target, had a mission, had an objective that they needed to do, got some intel that they were going to be enemy in that area. So I don't know the details. I'm just trying to interpret his description. But you can see how raw and fresh that is in his mind when he goes back, as you would expect. And everybody reacts differently in contact, and or in this case, dropping and killing the enemy of which they were tasked with for that particular job. I wouldn't, I don't take his smiling and stuff as though he's excited or ecstatic about having killed 1 or 2 people in that contact. I think, like you said, it's just the way his body reacted. He may not realize that he's got a big smile on his face, so I would be surprised if he was smiling like that because he was happy about what he had done. No doubt, I think there'd probably come a time where he's reflecting and happy about the mission and the work that they've done. But I don't think anybody, having been in contact myself, I don't think anybody is ecstatic or laughing or happy when it comes to taking life. You might be glad that that threat has been neutralized, don't get me wrong, especially if they've been chewing up some of your own mates or your team, like some of the reactions that I've done with DJ Shipley. I'm not saying that he is ecstatic or anything, but you can hear he's like, yeah, let that guy go, like let them take him out. And yeah, you'd be thinking the same thing if all that sort of stuff has been happening. So yeah, just wanted to try to give my take and my perspective on what we saw with the gentleman there. I don't know who he is, but I personally don't think he's smiling like that because he's ecstatic or happy about having dropped a couple of people that they were clearly been given a mission or a task to do. Yeah, I hope that makes sense anyway.
40 years on, the SAS's newest counter-terrorism troopers must adjust to life in a gas mask to learn the latest CT tactics.
It makes it harder to breathe. So again, your fitness levels need to be up there.
In this first month, they're weaned into a world of limited vision and controlled breathing until it becomes natural to every action.
Well, a lot of training is done in the gas mask so that the soldiers get used to wearing it. So when they have to wear it, they're comfortable.
And then you start adding all the kit, the overalls, the black kit, then the body armor, then the sledgehammers, the extra kit, your weapons, and running around and doing PT with that, and going up and down ladders and stairs, at least in Australia and that anyway, and then coming back down and then doing runs through the kill house, you know, with either paint, depending on which facilities we were using, live explosives, but then sometimes paint rounds, depending, because it was a building that's quite central and you got everything else, other buildings and other people training outdoors around you, so you're not going to have live rounds going out there. And or if you're doing it and going into the internal 360 range and the internal CT building, at least that they had, or battle training facility that they had in Australia, and then the kill house, which was a tire one with rubber tires and stuff at the time when I went through cycle. They've got quite a nice state-of-the-art one these days, from what I understand and what limited vision or images I've seen of it. But yeah, all of that stuff, adding layers again, just like the shooting that they were doing, adding layers again to help with their fitness and their ability to be able to process. All of it's necessary, all of it's needed. So, sometimes I think when people look at SF units, whether it be Delta, DevGru, SAS, SEALs, JTF2, whatever they're looking at, Green Berets, and other special forces units, I think they get caught up in what may appear to be glamorous to them. I know I did as a 14-year-old kid. When I saw the book and I saw these cool pictures with all this kit that they were wearing, jungle stuff, the ghillie suits, which I didn't know what that was at the time. I just thought it looked cool. All the black roll stuff and counter terrorism stuff, I didn't know what that was. I just thought it looked cool. I was like, man, that looks awesome. That's what I want to do. So yeah, real naive, oblivious to the realities of it, and no idea about the work, effort, energy, sacrifice, challenges that go along with it in terms of preparing to be able to get to a stage, to be able to do the job to a high standard, at least to the minimum basic standard first, and then elevate from there. So it's good memories, brings back smiles again, puts smiles on my face, I should say again, just seeing these guys put in the mahi, or put in the work to be able to do the job.
The importance of performing with masks is about to be made abundantly clear.
It was something on the CT course that you lived in.
Can you imagine that scene, these guys tooled up in all the kit, that running towards the building to come and sort out an issue. Now that's not going to happen like that, but yeah, it was intense and rigorous, the PT, put it that way, with all the during the CT phases, as it should be, like as all of it should be. So they are, your fitness does get to a very, very high level, and then it's your responsibility to maintain it. It's not the PTIs, it's not your patrol commanders, it's not the 2ICs, it's not the sergeants, it's not your troops, it's your individual responsibility to make sure that you are high ready, or at a high standard, high state of readiness, I should say, to do the job that you need to do, whether it's out in the water, whether it's jumping out of the planes, whether it's going across the desert in vehicles, whether it's patrolling with the pack on, again out in the open or in the urban or in the bush, or whether it's doing counter-terrorism, rappelling out of the helicopters or fast roping, a whole bunch of things. That's just a part of the reason why your physical fitness needs to be at a high standard, and your mental fitness, your mental toughness needs to be at the minimum standard, at least, to get to that stage, and then you develop it like what these guys are doing constantly, like every day developing.
It's time for these soldiers to personally experience a deadly threat which traces back to the First World War.
chemical, biological and radiological.
Agent 15, sarin, soman, cyclosarin, hydrogen cyanide, all deadly chemical weapons. Now the soldiers must get a taste of what they're up against.
We need to be able to operate in those environments should the worst possible situation occur.
They will be exposed to a chemical compound, painful but not lethal.
The exposure to, gases, sprays and all that makes you, I can cope with this, it's going to be over and done within 5 seconds.
A dish of chlorobenzalmol.
And this part sucked. it was rubbish. Some fellas responded and weren't too bad. I, on the other hand, I was a mess. Eyes were coming out. Everything just seemed to be coming out. My eyeballs, my nose, my mouth. Probably breathed in a bit too much during that time, but everybody was exposed to it. We all sort of cycled through, and then you've got to navigate your way through the kill house it was at the time, and then get out the other side and connect. It's coughing and spluttering away. Yeah, that was a terrible experience. It funnily enough, I don't know whether you get used to it or whatever, but it got easier, I suppose, for want of a better term, in terms of, I suppose, some of the exposure that you have to it, much like the pepper spray. That was another terrible one. But, you get sprayed with it a few times over a period of time. You tend to be able to, or at least I found anyway, and a few others tend to be able to, I suppose, somehow cope with it a little bit better. It's still crap, don't get me wrong, but it's just not as bad as the previous times. So hopefully that makes sense.
The Loner trial, better known as CS gas, is cooked in a confined space. Now the gas masks, which have become their second skin, are removed.
You've got to be in there and taste it and experience it.
Do I have to? Do I really? Yeah, it stung too, on me anyway. I could feel it stinging around my neck, my face, pulled it out. Everything was bloody running. Yeah, it was crap, my first exposure to it. And it only got slightly better. The other times, just, I suppose, nothing's ever as terrible as the first time, I suppose.
The effects of the CS gas are instant.
Oh, it's not nice. It's horrible.
Yeah, it hurts. It really hurts.
I'm glad, because I actually, well, at the time I knew after, but it's nice to hear other people that have been through it, just talk about it. It hurts. Yeah, it's terrible. Bloody terrible. Crack.
But pain is a necessary part of learning.
Yeah, been here before. Yeah, breathe. Yeah, clean my eyes up. Hey mate, I've just been hit with this. Cool. Clean up. Keep going forward.
This is just the start of Counter Terrorism Training for the new troopers. Their next training phase will prepare them to infiltrate New Zealand's largest city.
So that looks like a good place to pause it. 9:22. It's 30 minutes or nearly 30 minutes on here. Yeah, enjoying it. Like, lots of, for me personally, lots of information and stuff going back, trip down memory lane for the most part, not only for NZ, but also been able to connect some of the dots in Australia as well. Just very, very grateful for both of these great countries, both of those great units, and the other SF units around the place. And just, obviously, I have a closer connection to NZ Australia because of having had the opportunity to go through a large part of the training. Didn't quite get there at the final hurdle in NZ, but then being able to go over and redo, but to the way that the Australians do it in Australia, and have the privilege to go on and serve there. So yeah, this is awesome. Really enjoying these from a personal perspective. I hope they provide some sort of perspective for others that have been kind enough to support this channel. And so, in saying that, thank yous very much to anyone and everyone that has spent or given some of your time to be here to watch any of the content on my channel, and or especially those, as well, that have taken time to subscribe, to like, to comment. It really does mean a lot, and I thank you very much. And saying that, in closing, as always, to anybody going through any challenges, any difficulties, any trials, any suffering that you may be going through, whether it's family related, whether it's friendship related, whether it's work related, whatever it may be, keep tuning up, keep staying in the fight, keep putting one step in front of the other, as difficult as it may be. Sometimes it's hard to think of others when we're going through the challenges and trials ourselves, but hopefully you can try to take each day as it comes and look for an opportunity to try to positively impact somebody else. One of the things that helps me when I'm going through some difficult times is doing something like this and trying to leave a simple message like this, which may potentially land on the ears of somebody that might just need to hear it at that particular time. So better days are ahead, no matter what challenges you're going through at this time. And so keep pushing forward and go always a little further. And as always, remember, who dares wins. Until the next video.